Okay, so you want to dive into this NVIDIA paper,
Oh, yeah.
Edify 3D, Scalable High-Quality 3D Asset Generation. It just came out, what, like a few days ago, November 12th, 2024. Well, you've come to the right place, so get ready, because we're going deep into the world of AI and 3D asset creation.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz around this one.
Definitely a lot of buzz. We're going to
Hmm.
unpack how Edify 3D works, what makes it different, from all the other 3D tools out there, and really look at what kind of impact it could have.
Yeah. And you know what I find really interesting is this whole problem of, like when you're trying to create high quality 3D assets,
Mm-hmm.
the ones with all the detail and textures, the
These
materials,
are ever.
it's such a time sink.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have this problem where there's just not enough good data to train AI models to do this.
Yeah, so it's like a double whammy. It's hard to make them. It's hard to teach an AI to make them. But
Yeah.
NVIDIA is saying Edify 3D can do it.
Yeah.
And fast, under 2 minutes. That's great. How are they doing that?
Right. So their approach is really cool. They're using a two-step process
Mm-hmm.
where they've combined a couple of different AI techniques. So first, they've got these things called multi-view diffusion models,
Okay.
which you can think of as like an AI artist that sketches the object you want
Oh, okay.
from different angles.
Uh-huh.
But instead of using pencils, they're using data.
Interesting.
So these sketches are actually RGB images and surface normal images. So the RGB captures the color and the surface normal captures the surface detail. So those two together really are key to understanding the shape and the look of the object.
So it's like you're giving the AI multiple snapshots of the object,
Exactly.
but the snapshots are packed with info.
Yes.
And I read they can use text prompts or reference images or even both. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, very flexible.
But how do they go from like the sketches to an actual 3D model?
So that's where that second AI comes in, the reconstruction model.
Okay.
Think of this AI like a master sculptor. It's taking all those different views and using them to actually build that 3D model.
Oh, wow.
And it's got all the bells and whistles. It has the mesh geometry. It's got the textures.
Okay.
And it's even got those fancy physically based rendering materials, the PBR materials.
Just stuff that makes it look real.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like this AI is building a puzzle from the other AI's sketches, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
But I mean, if it's trying to get that much detail,
Yeah.
does it need a ton of sketches? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, the paper even points out that the reconstruction model, it actually gets better the denser the viewpoints.
Oh, so more is better.
More is better.
Gotcha.
You're essentially giving that sculptor, more photos to work with.
More reference material
Exactly. So more angles equals more detail.
in the final model.
And this is where it gets really interesting because they did these ablation studies.
Yes.
And they actually showed that the model improves not only with more images, but also with more computing power. Right. So it's constantly learning and refining.
Always learning, always getting better. Okay, so let's step back for a sec. Remember that whole data problem we were talking about?
Oh, right. Yeah.
How are they getting around the fact that there just isn't that much high quality 3D training data? I mean, how is NVIDIA doing this?
Right. So are they just using like any data?
No, they're not just, throwing anything at the model.
Okay.
They're really meticulous about it. It's like they're picking the ingredients for a 5-star meal for this AI,
Oh, wow.
So first, they take all the 3D shapes, all the data, and put it into one format.
Okay. So consistency.
Yeah, consistency, exactly.
Gotcha.
But it's not just about the format. They use AI and human experts to get rid of bad data.
Oh, wow.
They're like a quality control team. They're making sure that AI is learning from the best of the best.
That's a good point.
They even align all the objects to a standard pose,
Oh, wow. That must be tough.
which is way more difficult than it sounds.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But what about the visuals?
Yeah.
Because the textures, the materials, the lighting, all that stuff is important, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, they're using a super sophisticated in-house path tracer to render the shapes
Oh,
from all these different angles, so they're capturing all that visual data.
so they're really going all out.
Oh, and get this. They're even using vision language models to create descriptions of each shape.
Oh, interesting.
So they're adding even more depth to the data. It's like they're building this massive digital library for Edify 3D to learn from.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And what's really exciting is they're already starting to see how Edify 3D can be used to make whole scenes. So think about this. You're working on a game, and instead of modeling every asset,
Right.
you give Edify 3D a description or an image, and it makes the whole scene.
Oh.
It makes everything, the whole environment.
That would be amazing.
That would be incredible.
So what kind of results are they getting? What's it actually look like?
If you look at figures 8 and 9 in the paper, there's some really cool examples. They made a steampunk robot turtle.
What?
Yeah, it's amazing. And then this super detailed phonograph. And the detail is incredible.
You know, what really stands out to me is they're creating these quad meshes with well-organized topologies, which might sound technical, but it basically means these assets are like clean and ready to use in professional 3D workflows.
Yeah, no more virtual clutter.
Yeah, exactly.
And remember how I mentioned it can use both text and image input?
Yeah.
Well, figure 9, that's where they show off the image to 3D capabilities.
Okay.
And it can not only recreate the object from the image, but it can even fill in details that weren't even in the original image.
Whoa, that's wild. Like it's using what it knows about the real world.
Yeah, it's using its AI brain to like imagine what the rest of the object looks like.
So it's like almost making stuff up.
Kinda, yeah. It's pretty cool. But we've got to remember, this is still research, right? What kind of limitations do you think it might run into? I mean, where do you think Edify 3D could struggle?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, even the researchers themselves, they acknowledge that keeping things consistent across multiple views is still really tough.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the results are great, but I wonder how it'll handle really complex scenes or objects with crazy details.
Those are all good points. I mean, Edify 3D is definitely a huge step forward.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed, the scalability, the quality, but like any technology, there's always room for improvement.
Exactly.
But I mean, think about the possibilities.
Yeah.
This could change gaming, VR, even architecture.
Oh,
It's pretty mind-blowing.
absolutely.
So let's bring it back to our listener for a second. What excites you about the potential of AI-powered 3D creation?
Yeah, think about how this could change game design, or even just how we visualize our own ideas.
Exactly. We'll be back in a moment to talk more about those possibilities.
One thing that really stood out to me in this paper was how NVIDIA was talking about the limitations of Edify 3D. Like, they're really upfront about where there's still room for it to grow.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to those super complex shapes or scenes, you know, the ones with all those intricate interactions.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah.
Like you don't always see that kind of honesty in a research paper.
Exactly.
You know, they're admitting that there's still some hurdles.
Yeah. What kind of?
Like imagine trying to generate, I don't know, a bustling city street.
Oh, yeah.
With crowds and cars and all the little details of the building.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of complexity, I mean, it's really pushing the limits of what we can do with 3D generation right now.
Absolutely. And it just makes you realize how much is actually going on behind the scenes of a 3D model.
Oh, for sure.
But even with those challenges,
yeah,
you can't deny that Edify 3D is a huge step forward. I mean, think about the impact on something like game development. Game developers are always looking for ways to create like more immersive worlds,
right?
Visually stunning worlds. This could really speed up their workflow.
Yeah.
Give artists and designers way more time to focus on, you know, the creative side of things.
And it's not just about individual assets either.
Right.
Remember that whole 3D scene thing we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine using Edify 3D to generate entire levels for a game.
Oh, wow.
Like the environment, characters, props, everything, all in one go.
Yeah, like giving developers these like super-powered building blocks to make entire virtual worlds. And because it's all procedural,
right,
you know, generated by AI, it opens up some crazy possibilities for like dynamic content and even personalized gaming experiences.
Personalized gaming experience. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Which brings us to VR and AR, right?
Oh, for sure.
Imagine designing your own avatar.
Yeah.
Or even creating entire virtual worlds based on what you're interested in.
It's like the line between real and virtual is getting blurrier. Right. And Edify 3D could be a big part of making those experiences even better.
And we can't forget about the practical applications too, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think about architecture and design.
Yeah.
Architects could use this to prototype buildings so much faster, experiment with different materials, or even create like virtual walkthroughs for their clients.
Exactly. It's about giving creators the power to really push the limits.
It's kind of crazy to think about how Edify 3D could make these tools so much more accessible.
Yeah.
Bring them to a wider audience.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've covered a lot here. I mean, the technology behind Edify 3D, its potential across all these different fields. And we've even touched on some of the bigger picture implications.
Yeah, for sure. It's been great.
But what are your thoughts?
Yeah. What really grabs you about this research? Where do you see the biggest potential?
Think about that for a minute. We'll be back in just a sec to wrap things up and maybe even make some predictions about what the future holds for all this AI-powered 3D creation. We've been talking all about NVIDIA's Edify 3D, this AI system that's changing how we think about making 3D assets. But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I think it's worth taking a step back and thinking about the bigger picture.
You know what's really fascinating to me?
Yeah.
Is that Edify 3D, it's not just like a one-off thing. It's part of this huge wave of innovation in generative AI.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're seeing so many new tools and techniques popping up.
It's crazy.
It's insane, and it's happening so fast.
It really feels like we're seeing a fundamental change in how we create, like, digital content, period.
Yeah.
And this goes way beyond 3D, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, we're seeing these leaps in text generation, image synthesis, even music composition. It's wild.
And the more powerful these tools get and the more people can use them, the bigger the impact is going to be on everything. I mean, from how we entertain ourselves, to how we learn, to how we do research, to how we design products.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
It's like AI is becoming this creative partner.
Yeah.
It's like it's amplifying our own creativity, but it's more than just amplifying it. It's opening up creative possibilities we couldn't have even imagined before.
Imagine a world where anyone can create in 3D.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an artist or a designer or an engineer. You know,
Right.
you could just bring your ideas to life in 3D. That's powerful.
And it's not just about individual creation either.
Mm-hmm.
Think about collaborating with people all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
Teams of artists and designers working together in virtual spaces, building amazing things together. It's mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
But even with all this potential, we got to remember that we're still in the early stages.
Yeah, for sure.
And with any new tech, there are going to be challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Things we didn't expect.
Yeah, bumps in the road.
Exactly. Bumps in the road.
We've got to be ready to adapt, to learn from our mistakes, and adjust as we go.
But one thing's for sure, AI is going to play a huge role in the future of creation.
Oh, absolutely.
And Edify 3D is a really exciting glimpse into what that future might look like.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Edify 3D, we want to leave you with one last thought. What role are you going to play in this whole AI-powered creation thing?
Yeah. Will you be an observer? Will you be a participant? Or will you be a pioneer?
The choice is yours. The possibilities are endless. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.